Hi everyone, this is Chris Green, the History Chap. I just want to share with you some of the events that happened this week in British history, week commencing the 29th of November. So first up, we've got the 30th of November, 1016. Edmund Ironside dies. Who on earth was Edmund Ironside? He was an Anglo Saxon king of England just 50 years before the Norman invasion. Pretty forgotten guy. He was the son of Aethelred the Unready, and he earned his nickname Ironside, fighting the Danish Vikings who had invaded England under their king Canute. Yes, that Canute who tried to hold back the waves. Anyway, when his father died, Aethelred the Unready died, Edmund was proclaimed king by the people in London. However, the Witan of England, the council of nobles and senior people, were meeting in far-off Southampton, and they declared for Canute, which is all rather embarrassing, wasn't it? Especially when Edmund rocked up in Southampton with his army. You just imagine, oh, that Edmund, yes, well, of course we were going to support you. Anyway, through the summer of 1016, Edmund fought 5 battles with Canute as they vied to control England. Eventually, after he was defeated by Canute at the Battle of Assandun on the 18th of October 1016, Edmund negotiated a peace treaty with Canute, whereby they divided England between them. Wessex, which is sort of the south of England, south of the River Thames, and London would be ruled by Edmund, and the Midlands and the North and East Anglia would be ruled by the Danish king, Canute. And just 5 weeks later, Edmund died in London. Some accounts say that he was murdered whilst he was actually sitting on the toilet, where someone thrust a sword or a spear up from below. But anyway, pleasant. Upon his death, King Canute was accepted by the South as their king as well, and he went on to rule England for 19 years. I'm going into a lot more detail about Edmund Ironside and Aethelred the Unready and Canute the Great, the Danish King of England, in this week's talk to my History Club members. So if you're a member, make sure to get over there and check it out in the portal. Moving into the Middle Ages, 4th of December 1154, Nicholas Breakspear is elected Pope. The only Englishman ever to have been Pope. Breakspear, as Adrian IV, was Pope from 1154 to 1159. Nicholas Breakspear was originally from near St Albans in Hertfordshire, just north of London, but spent most of his adult life in abbeys and in the church in continental Europe. Probably his biggest impact back in Britain when he was Pope was he issued King Henry II of England with a papal bull, which is basically like a papal authority, a religious authority for the King of England to invade Ireland. What a great idea that's turned out to be. Moving forward into Victorian Britain, 19th century Britain, 3rd of December 1868, William Gladstone is elected British Prime Minister for the first time. William Ewart Gladstone was one of the towering figures in British politics in the 19th century. Arguably, I guess he's actually one of the most towering figures in British political history, full stop. As leader of the Liberal Party, the 59-year-old Gladstone became Prime Minister for the first time on the 3rd of December 1868 after winning an election against the Conservatives. He heard the news of his victory whilst he was chopping logs, which was one of his favourite pastimes, at his family home, Harden Castle in North Wales. He stopped, he mused, he uttered the immortal line, "My mission is to pacify Ireland," and then he went back to cutting up his logs. During his first premiership, he oversaw reforms in the army. He stopped the commissions being purchased, made it a professional officer elite, had to pass exams and things. And he also stopped flogging for common soldiers. He also legalised trade unions during his first premiership, and he introduced secret voting. He also oversaw the Foster's Education Act, which introduced a national framework for schooling all children in Britain aged 5 to 12. William Gladstone lost the next general election in 1874 to his arch rival, the Conservative Benjamin Disraeli. Gladstone was to be Prime Minister 4 times, the only politician ever to have been Prime Minister 4 times in British history. And when he died in 1898, he was given a state funeral in Westminster Abbey, where future King Edward VII and also future King George V, our current Queen's grandfather, acted as pallbearers. Pretty impressive. And if you ever get the opportunity, if you're passing through that North Wales, just over the border from Chester in England, visit Gladstone's library in Harden. It houses his vast collection, and I mean vast collection of books, many in ancient Greek and Latin, which he could read. I think he basically he read a book a day. That was pretty good going. That was Gladstone's average. And you can actually pick up those books that he read and see the notes he wrote in his own hand in the margins. Quite amazing that you've just seen there. You can almost feel where he wrote his notes. It's quite special. And pretty good food in their little restaurant there as well. And finally for this week, 5th of December 1958, Britain's first motorway opened over 20 years after the Germans had managed to achieve their autobahns. The 8-mile Preston bypass in Lancashire was Britain's first motorway. Britain's first motorway cost £2.9 million in those days' money, about 63 million quid in today's money. And it was opened on the 5th of December 1958 by Prime Minister Harold Macmillan. I hope you enjoyed those bite-sized chunks from British history. Which ones would you like to hear more about? Well, tell me in the comments below and I'll see what I can do for you. And I respond to all the comments that people send me. While you're there, subscribe to my YouTube channel and also click on the link that's appearing about now to have a look at some of my exclusive talks on my History Chap website. Until next week, have a great time, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.